Here are 10 short scary stories to keep you up at night. But before we get started, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel followed by the bell notification so you never miss a video. Enjoy. Mr. Nobody. Now, we're all familiar with Mr. Nobody. We're introduced to him as a child. A drink spills on the carpet, a vase smashes to the floor. Our parents ask us who did it. And we always say, we don't know. We weren't there. It wasn't us. And our parents always respond with, I guess it must have been Mr. Nobody. Most kids don't think much about Mr. Nobody. They're too focused on the impending spanking or the confiscated PlayStation. But the smart ones don't sulk. They get even. Those same children who stay up late Christmas Eve to catch Santa or go hunting for the Easter Bunny are the same that take being grounded as an opportunity to demonstrate the many crimes of Mr. Nobody. My son, he was one such child. He spent weeks searching for Mr. Nobody, hiding for hours, setting traps, leaving cameras in every room. He was always so excited about it, always telling me how he was so close to finding proof. And then one day he just stopped asking questions, wouldn't argue back, and started spending all his time playing outside. Now, at first, I thought he was just growing up, putting silly things behind him. But now, I'm not so sure. Last night, a plate fell off the kitchen counter. Junior took the blame, swept up the pieces, and begged me to punish him. I was in the backyard at the time, so I didn't see who did it. But I know it wasn't my son. He was in the backyard with me. The pills. My husband had been a godsend since I got sick. My doctors were really stumped at first, but we figured it out. The doctors prescribed me a medicine to take every 6 hours, and it was supposed to heal the pain. My husband is an excellent nurse. At first, I hated to have him do it. My illness was turning me into a person that I did not recognize. Moody, temperamental, and very impatient. But my husband just kept going, giving me the tiny blue-green pills that would cure my ails. But my symptoms got worse. My nose started to bleed profusely. My husband left a message with the doctor, but no response. I started developing bruises, and my stomach was always upset. The doctor apparently thought this could be solved by increasing the medicine, so I began taking it every 4 hours. I smiled pitifully at my husband, thanking him for his devotion and swallowing the bluish pill. He ran a gentle hand through my hair. A fistful of hair came along with it. I cried and I cried, but I really just needed to be alone. I sent my husband to the store. A few minutes after he left, I realized I needed to take a dose. I weakly climbed out of bed and made it to the medicine cabinet. There were my little blue pills scattered loosely around the cabinet. I grabbed the pill bottle and unscrewed the cap so I could dump them back in. My pills, they were white. Manifested fear. You are not supposed to read this. You should not. But of course, knowing is better than not knowing. People who live by themselves are my audience. People who live alone at some apartment, condominium, townhouse, or hotel. If, however, you are not one of them, there really is no harm if by chance you found this. Why is it sometimes, just sometimes, when you are about to go to sleep, after you brush your teeth, after you put the lights out, and your weariness takes your legs, and simply standing is a chore, that you find that one window you forgot to close? Yes, that window which let the cool night wind outside sweep through the room. That window which has the paint of darkness. Now, of course, sometimes you just let it be and go right to sleep, but sometimes you are compelled to close it. as if letting it hun open gives an opportunity to whatever evil outside to come through that window. It is something a parent would say to their child: close your window. If you don't want the monsters to come through, close your window. Indeed, it is an effective technique to teach the value of security. As you walk to that window, you feel the night wind, cool, fresh, ominous. The darkness is something disrupted by the streak of headlights. The silence interrupted by horns and voices. And as each step you get closer to that window, you are reminded of what your parents told you. Not about closing the window, about the monster. And as a single frame of thought takes hold in your mind, you bear it until the last you close that window. And all is safe again. Everything is alright. Everything is fine. That figure you saw just moments before you closed the window, at the edge of your view, by the slight turn of your head, it was nothing more than your imagination. Now, you, the reader, if by chance you left the window open at night and are prompted to close it, please don't look to your left or right, even up or down. There is no man or animal, but it is there, looking at you straight in the eyes. Now you know. Knowing is better. Is it not? Lights in the distance. A young man suffering from insomnia was trying to fall asleep one night. After many minutes, he was still wide awake as it got later and later. He turned on his side and looked out the window, noticing 2 street lights in the distance. He rested his eyes on them and soon fell asleep. The next night, he found himself once again wide awake by a sleeping disorder. Remembering the remedy that he tried the night before, he turned onto his side, looked out the window for the 2 streetlights. He found them and once again fell asleep peacefully. The next night, his sleeping troubles again were back, but he simply just looked out the window for the streetlights and rested his eyes on them. But tonight, they were flickering every few seconds. He assumed that the bulbs were soon to burn out, and as his eyes began to fall shut, the lights finally did burn out. He woke up in the morning feeling refreshed, but as he got up, he looked out the window towards the streetlights, hoping to see someone had fixed them. However, as he looked out, he noticed something odd. There weren't streetlights there. He leaned closer to the window to double check, but still, the streetlights were nowhere to be found. Then he looked down and noticed small claw marks on his windowsill as if something had been perched there. Let's just say his insomnia got much worse. Crybaby. Late last night, I woke up to the sounds of somebody crying. It was an eerie sound and surprisingly loud as well. Although I wanted to get up and check it out, I was a bit scared and tired, so I just ignored it and hid under the covers. Today, at breakfast, I told my roommate about it. That was me, she replied, with a tone of fear in her voice. Whew, what a relief, I thought to myself. I was crying because I saw a thing watching you while you were asleep. Infested. I guess you could say it all started when meteors hit. Some landed smack dab in the middle of cities, so several hundred people died from the impacts, and a few thousands breathed in the strange cloud that came off of them a little after they landed. That was when the news started to cover it, stating that scientists have discovered something in the mist. Something alive. Then the paranoia sets in. Reports of mutilated bodies torn to shreds started to surface. Religious leaders started to say it was signs of the apocalypse, and strange incidents with suspects resisting arrest and even attacking police with bites. Soon, people quickly started to catch on to what was going on and prepared for war against the infested. That was when the killing started. Riots broke out across the country as people started fighting back. Soon, people were getting beaten and lynched in the streets for just being sick. Mass suicides led to them being littered with bodies of the dead in the streets. It was a shame no one listened to the part about the things in the mist dying when they came in contact with our air. A white lie. I'm the last one here. Those things have killed everyone else. Those things with huge wings, with the beady eyes, with the sharp claws. Every time I close my eyes, I see my coworkers being ripped apart. A few of us made it out of the building here, but even here we aren't safe. I watched them get picked off one by one, screaming as they fought against death. I tried to stop it, I swear I did. I tried. Now, I'm running through the building to the main power center. With no one else to ask, I'm tasked with the pressure of pressing one of these buttons. Either I'll press the red button or the green button. Supposedly, one button will turn the power doors back on, protecting us from whatever the shrieking, hungry, and angry things are outside. That's the red button. The other button is green and opens the opposite side power door, and I can only imagine what might be out there. Why had I agreed to come and research in this lab? I think as I run, hearing the screeching behind me. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Why did I lie on my application? Why didn't I admit that I was colorblind? The Clock Man. Every time the clock strikes 12, I hear an extra tick from the clock. I thought it was my imagination at first, until I saw long, thin hand reach out from behind the clock and tapped its long nails on the wall. Screams in the forest. They love to eat fingers. That's what my mom told me. I should have obeyed her. I should not have gone outside to play. I got lost and I couldn't find my way back. It was getting so dark and I found an empty trunk and I went inside. I fell asleep. I woke up about an hour later, scared because it was not a dream. It was happening. It was really happening. I was lost in the forest alone. I was cold and shaking, and then I started to hear noises. They were these really loud screams. They sounded like a high-pitched scream, like the ones that cats make when they're scared. It was insane. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was getting closer to where I was. Closer and closer it got. The screams would get louder and louder. And then it stopped. No noises were heard for about 15 minutes. Then it began again. But it wasn't just one, it was dozens, all over the forest, walking around. I could hear their loud footsteps on the ground. They would pass by behind the trees I was hiding inside of. I could hear them running on the distance and yelling even louder as they ran. One of those things passed in front of the trunk. All I could hear were two ominous feet. They were almost completely flat, and their tails were burning red. They were ashes, glowing in the dark. The noises stopped. I started crying. I was scared. All I remembered after that, it pulled my arm. I'll never be able to write again. Surprise guest. A 58-year-old man living alone in Japan started hearing strange noises at night and noticed things out of place in his house. He installed video cameras, and it turned out a homeless woman had been living in his attic and cupboards for almost a year in his house undetected. Now, it gets creepier. The way he found out about the woman was that he sat down in the living room to review the tape and saw the woman climbing into the cupboards and closing the door. The cupboards was right next to where he was sitting. That was 10 short, scary stories to keep you up at night. Leave a comment and let me know which story was your favorite. If you have a story of your own that you want me to share, or you want to support the channel, check out the description down below. Follow me on these social medias, Instagram, TikTok, and my Facebook group. Lastly, don't forget to like the video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel followed by the bell notifications so you never miss an upload.